where the drip's located. So I thought, well, it'd be good. We could, you know, maybe eat together and then go over and see the art and, you know, have dessert there and, you know, work that whole thing out. So that drip is located on Rossfield Square, which is in the Glenwood Park community. That's the name of the whole community. So I thought it might be nice to eat dinner with some friends across the street, before the reception, and then walk across the street to the coffee shop for dessert and coffee. So I created an invitation for both events and asked people to RSVP so I could make reservations at the restaurant and tell Hall, the owner of the coffee shop, how many desserts to have on hand. In the meantime, I told Hal that I would be happy to repair his walls, because when I hung my art, I noticed that there would have been nails and, you know, hooks and things that had been torn out, and it was not filled, and, you know, it wasn't terrible, but it was just, you know, I thought he might like that, and I would be happy to do it. So I asked him, I said, well, get the paint that you used to paint this, and I'll bring the spackling and fix this all up, sand it down, and, you know, daub the paint on there and repair it. He never did, but it's a standing offer, so as long as that's hanging there, I'm going to offer to do it. But, so that was one thing, and then I asked him if I could put up some lighting, because I wanted to kind of glow a couple pieces that were dark, you know. It was just where they were in the room. There was no light nearby, and so they were dark, and, you know, he agreed to that, so I brought my ladder and got up and fixed all of that and so forth. So that looked good. It definitely added something. And anyway, as it turned out, the evening of May 13th was a perfect evening. The restaurant had reserved a large corner table so that 8 of us could comfortably sit around it. The conversation was light and relaxed. All felt included and chimed in and added to it when they wanted to. 8:30 came, and I saw that across the street one of the guests had arrived. I excused myself to make sure she knew she was in the right place, and on the way out, I asked the cashier at the counter to provide checks for the individuals and couples as needed. She said, I've been instructed to put the whole amount on one bill and present it to one man. I said, well, that's different, you know, because that was definitely not in my mind, right? So, so after welcoming the lady across the street at the art show, I went back to the restaurant to clean up the loose ends. It turned out that, thanks to Carlos, he decided to pay for the meal. So, you know, Carlos must have been getting some kind of value, or he wouldn't have done that, right? There could be a lot of ways I could treat Carlos, or anybody else could treat Carlos, and you say, screw that, I don't even want to be a part of it. So, you know, something was going on there. We then ambled across the street. The place is a special environment. People with their dogs, kids, diners sitting outside Vickery's, all part of the street scene. Very pleasant indeed. And when I got into the coffee shop this time, I saw that Hal had placed candles on 4 of the tables. Now, I'd never seen this before, so that added a little touch of just, you know, specialness. I'll say it that way. And it wasn't much, but I noticed it, and I said, oh, you have candles, you know, how nice. Because it just felt more like an event, you know. And so that happened. And then we got into the art, people started talking about it and so forth, and I announced that anyone interested in buying art, they were welcome to do so, and I had a price list and so forth. So everybody bought their dessert, and Hal had really good desserts, especially one of them that was really good. I thought, really great. And so all in all, there was 13 people there that, you know, populated that event, and that was like, he had 3, so there was his 3 plus 13 of us or whatever, and, you know, we all bought something, and so I know that it was a big plus for him over what he would have had otherwise, you know, because it was a sort of a slow Friday evening. So at that point, too, some people wanted to buy art, and so they did, and So that had that all be very successful too. So when anyway, when I got home, I sent thank you notes to everybody that came because, you know, just to thank them. I mean, it's just nice of that. I got a lot of responses, but my perception of it was that people really had a nice time. It really worked. You know, the whole thing worked. There wasn't any parts hanging out. It really just worked. And I say it's that the reason it worked is because I was conscious about creating value. That's why it worked. And, you know, there was no detail I wasn't willing to include in the process of doing that.